Hi guys, thanks for joining me on Making with Marilyn. On today's video, I'm going to make a design that I'm going to add to this blank sign that I have. Now I'm going to hang mine like this horizontally. If you had a taller, narrower area, you could also hang it like that. I think I got this at Walmart, but you can find things like this at Michael's, Joann's. You could even make your own if you wanted to. For my design, I'm going to cut it out with my Glowforge, but before you think I don't have a Glowforge, why would I watch this video? You could just as easily cut this out of vinyl. You could stick your vinyl on here, or you could use a stencil cut out of vinyl and paint your sign. For me, I'm going to cut it out of this very, very thin plywood that I got at Home Depot. Then I'm going to paint my design with two colors. One is this beautiful dark teal paint, and the other part of my sign is just going to be plain black. Once I have my design cut out and painted, I'll adhere it to my board with this glue gun. Other things I have, digital calipers. And if you are using a Glowforge, these to me are a must. So I'll link to this in the description below. I have a tape measure, a couple of paint brushes, and then I'll use my computer to make the design. Now, before I move on with the video, big shout out to Fit to Fiddle. She used my referral code to buy her Glowforge. She received a discount and I received a referral fee. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I truly appreciate that. Now, Glowforge protects your identity, and so they don't let me know who to send a thank you to. So if you do, please let me know so I can give you a proper thank you as well. Again, thank you, Fit to Fiddle. Now, here's the design that I plan to make today. And I just played around with this last night until I was happy with it. But I want to show you how I did this from start to finish. So I'm going to go ahead and move this out of the way. All right, now I've opened a new screen in Inkscape. The first thing I want to do is I want to change the size of my document properties because this is going to be the template for my design. A lot of the times I don't even bother with this because I know what size I want. But in this case, I want this template to mimic my board. So I'm going to go to File, Document Properties. The width of my board is 19.5 inches wide. And then the height is 16 inches. Now, notice once I enter those, the template's already changed. So now I can just hit the red X and I have my new size. So to make my design, I just Googled coffee. And then I wanted a coffee cup, so I clicked on cup. And you'll see there are a lot of different images you could use for this. Okay, here's my image right here. It comes off of PNG Tree, which I do have a membership to. It's a free membership, and I can download up to 2 images per day. For now, I'm just going to drag it over to my desktop. And then I'll close out of the search. Okay, so I'm back in Inkscape. I'm going to go find that file. And last night I went ahead and renamed it to Coffee Cup when I found it. It's the same image, so I'm going to click on File, Import, and then Coffee Cup PNG. This is the PNG version. We're going to change it into an SVG version. So I'm going to say Open, and then here I'm just going to click OK. So here's my image. But this has no cut lines yet. This is not an SVG. So what I need to do is go to Path and Trace Bitmap. Now you see a little preview, and the preview doesn't look great, but let's click OK and see what we get. So I'm just going to hit the red X and drag my new image off to the side. Okay, that looks good. Now here's my old image. You can tell because it has a background. The other way you could tell is if you click on something and go right here to where you could edit your nodes, there's no nodes show up. Let's go back to the Select tool and click our new image and go back to nodes, and there's all kinds of nodes. So we know that the one we need to get rid of is right here. So I'm just going to hit delete on my keyboard. Okay, so I'm just going to pull this over about right here. And then I'll make it a little bit larger. Now the thing that jumps out to me is it's going to be very difficult whether you are using vinyl to make a stencil or you're cutting this on a laser cutter to get these really small little pieces here, as well as here and here. So I need to do something to this to thicken it up. And in Inkscape, this is really, really easy. There's a few ways you can do it, and I'm going to show you those right now. So I'm going to click on the design, and I'm going to go to Path, and then I'm going to go down here. There's Outset, Dynamic Offset, and Linked Offset. If you click Outset, it's just going to make it thicker by a predetermined amount. And that's what I did last night. Let me duplicate this so I can show you how these different things work. Okay, so if I go to Path and click on Outset, it thickens it just a little bit. So what I did is I went to Path and Outset multiple times until it got to the thickness I liked. Okay, and then I'll show you how to clean up these little things here in just a minute. Now another way you could do that is you could go, let's focus on this one now. You could go up here to Path, and then you could say Dynamic Offset. The difference between Dynamic Offset and Linked Offset. Dynamic Offset is just going to make your image a little larger. Linked Offset is going to be 2 layers. You're going to have your original layer and then a shadow layer as well. So in this case, unless you want a second layer, you would go to Dynamic Offset. Then here's your little grab bar. Just kind of slide it until it's the thickness you want. So in the end, these two look pretty much alike. I just got there 2 different ways. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit the Select tool and get rid of this one right here. And then I'll go back to my original one. It is selected, so the next thing I want to do is just clean up some things like this. And as I blow this up, you'll see some more issues. Okay, see how it dips in a few places? It's just not perfect. It was a free image, so I'm not complaining. I just need to fix it. Now this next part may seem overwhelming at first, but bear with me. If you practice this a few times, it becomes much easier to understand. And I'm still pretty much a novice at this. So I just watch some videos and then I just practice it. And once you do that a few times, you start figuring out kind of how it works. All right, so I'm going to click on my Nodes tool. And then I'm going to blow it up even larger. Now for me, I have to kind of go back and forth to see what the mistakes are. So I'm going to click the Select tool. And I see right here it dips in. So keeping an eye on that, I'm going to click on the Nodes tool. And I can tell it's probably this little node here, so I'm going to select it and then delete it. And I'll select this one over here and delete it. Then I'm going to go back to the Select tool and see if it's straightened up. Okay, so it's not perfect yet. So let's keep going. I'm going to select this one and I'll delete it. That looks better. And use my Select tool again, click on it, and then click on Nodes. And I'm just going to delete this and see if that fixes it. Okay, so that's acceptable to me. I'm going to do the same thing right here. So I have to select my design. And then I have to go to the Nodes tool. And I think this is the problem one. Yes. Select it again, go to Nodes, and this time I think I'll delete both of those 2 nodes right there. So I just draw around them and hit delete. Okay, and that smoothed it out nicely. Now sometimes you just have to play around with this. It doesn't always work exactly how you want it to, but eventually you can probably get there. Okay, so the last thing that I notice is there's a little hole here that would be cut out. So let me go ahead and find the nodes there. And I'm just going to drag my cursor around those and delete that. And now it won't cut there. Now I'm happy with the way that looks. So now I want to add the words homebrewed along this right side. So I'm going to go over here to text. And then I'll just place my cursor somewhere here. I'm going to use all caps. And I'm going to type homebrewed. Mine's defaulted to Varsity Regular, so I'm going to change that to a font called Blue. It's like an old-fashioned kind of sign font. All right, so using the Select tool, I'll go ahead and click on that, and I'm just going to start dragging this. Now my proportions are still locked, so I don't have to worry about that. Then I'm going to click on it a second time, and I can grab right here, and I can start rotating it. Then I'll move it over here into place. Now I want to make my screen smaller so I can see everything. All right, let's make that even larger. And then I'm going to unlock it and make it a little wider. Okay, move it over off to the side a little bit. Now, I like the shape of my coffee cup, but I have a lot of white space on this sign, so it is now unlocked because I unlocked it to change the homebrewed. I'm just going to drag it and see if it still looks okay a little wider. And I'll go just a little wider yet. Okay, I think that looks fine. Now, my coffee cup and my hearts are going to be black. And then my homebrewed is going to be a teal color. For now, I'm just going to click on this right here. By saving this as two different colors, when I get to the Glowforge or the Cricut, it'll cut them on two different layers so that you can change your material. Since I'm painting, it really wouldn't matter, but I don't have a piece big enough for the whole design. So I'm going to cut my coffee cup and the hearts, and then separately, I'll cut the words homebrewed. Now I think I'll lock it and make this just a tad bit larger. All right, I'm not quite happy with how thick that is, so I'm going to go back to Path. Click on Outset a couple more times. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and go up to File, Save As. I'm going to save it as coffee sign, and I'm going to save it as just a plain SVG. Now the Glowforge recognizes objects. It doesn't recognize just straight text. So I need to click over here on my text, and I'm going to do 3 little steps. They're very easy. I'm going to go Path, Object to Path. Then I'm going to click on Object and say Ungroup. Then I'm going to go back to Path and click Union. Union on Inkscape is like welding on Cricut Design Space. So now I'll go back, resave this as coffee sign, a plain SVG, replace the old one, and I'm ready to go. Okay, I'm in the Glowforge interface, and I'm going to start by clicking Create, Upload from File, and we're going to upload the coffee sign that we just made. I'll choose it for upload. Now, with it being in the design software 2 different colors, it came in as 2 layers. I'm cutting this out of 2 different boards, so for now, I'm going to go to my homebrewed, and I'm going to click on Inner Settings, and I'm going to say Ignore. All right, so let's go up and tell it what we're using. I'm not using proof grade materials. These are all proof grade materials that you can get from Glowforge. You'll get a bunch of those if you order your Glowforge, and they are very, very nice, but I can get my wood for cheaper at Home Depot, so that's what I do. So for that reason, I'm going to click on Use Uncertified Material, and then I'm going to enter the thickness of my material as measured with my digital calipers and say Submit. So now I'm going to click on this Inner Settings right below my coffee cup, and I'm going to tell it that I want to cut this. Then I'll go down to Manual Settings, and I'm going to do a speed of 200 and full power. You could set it to more than one pass if you wanted to, but I think this will work just fine. Now, after I cut out my coffee cup and my hearts, I'll have to come back here. At that point, I'll actually hide the coffee cup, I'll bring the home brewed up, and I'll do the same steps I just did. I'll tell it I want to cut it at a speed of 200 and full power. Now let's see how big this coffee cup is. Okay, it's a height of over 15 inches. My sign's only 16 inches tall, so I'm going to change this to 14.5 inches tall. Notice my proportions are locked. You can tell that right here. So when I change the height, it'll also change the width. Now let's see how tall my home brewed is. Okay, it's already a little less than 14.5, so that'll be fine. You can see I went ahead and put a piece of wood on my Glowforge. I'm just going to move this out of the way. It still wouldn't cut, but it interferes with what the design looks like. Okay, I want to spin this design since my wood is situated in the fashion it is. Okay, I can see it's off just a little bit there. So let me grab that again. Hopefully I don't have to make my design a little bit narrower, but if I do, I do. And I don't think I want to risk that, so I'm going to click on it, and I'll go ahead and unlock it. And I'll just make it 10 inches. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and click Print. It will take quite a while for this thing to be ready for you to click that blue magic button. Okay, so you can see my design is going to take 3 minutes and 39 seconds to cut. So let's take the camera downstairs, get it set up, and we'll watch it cut. Okay, hopefully this is a good angle. Okay, it's done cutting, but I have to wait for the light to go off before I can open the lid. And to do that, I'll need to move my camera back. So let me get the other piece of wood set up in there, and we'll keep going. All right, let's see if I can actually get past the camera, which I can. Now these little clips that you make, they're not going to last forever because they are tough going in and tough coming out. But if they weren't, they really wouldn't help hold the wood in very well. All right, let me shut the power off so you can hear me a little better. Now notice those letters, they just fell out of there. I'm going to have to do a little pushing on the other part of my design, so I slowed it down from 200 speed to 150 speed for this part. Now you may be wondering, how am I going to place all these little letters on my design? Well, keep watching because I have a trick for that. Now here's the coffee cup part of my design, and some of the pieces just came right out of this and some didn't. So that's why I slowed the speed down so that the laser would have more time to do its job. So you can see I had to push through, and there's a little bit hanging off that. Not a big deal. If I need to, I can just sand that lightly, but I think in my case I can just pull it to the back side and it won't even show. Now on this layer, I'm going to paint this black. Now when you cut this out with your Glowforge, the sides are already going to be a blackened color. So I probably won't even bother with the sides of this. And I'll just zip through this on the video. Okay, so the way I'm going to place this is I'm going to put my coffee cup down on my board. And then once I know if I like where it's situated, I can start gluing my design down. Now I think it's going to be easier to place this one with this little piece out of here, so I'm just going to break that off. This one fell out, of course, when I made the design. So now for now, I'm just going to pull my template up. Okay, then very carefully, I'm going to lift it up, put a little dollop of glue behind there. And I'm not going to glue the whole thing. I think some nice dollops strategically placed will work out fine. If not, and it falls off, I'll just redo it. Now I see I got a little bit there, but as that's drying, I can kind of cut along that with a razor, my fingernail, and I'll be able to pull that up. Now for the rest of this, I'm not going to force it down. For the rest of it, I'm just going to add the glue to the back pieces of the wood and place them. Now for the letters, I'm just going to do the same thing. Now the placement of this sign is at the end of a thin walkway under our side door, so no one will ever be able to get to the side of it to see if I painted the sides of these letters. Otherwise, I would have. I absolutely love this. I'm going to go put it up in the kitchen and I'll take a picture of it there. Thanks so much for watching me. Again, Fit to Fiddle, thank you so much for using my referral code. Until the next video, bye-bye.